Let's see if we can get some audio this time. Go back to that file. When we first open it, I see two stray paths up here. That's not hurting your drawing, but it's not helping it either, so I just delete those out. F5 zooms into everything that there is, and from that we can see where we're at. If you hide with Advanced Design, F9 will hide your cut paths, and so we can see what open paths we have and closed paths, regular paths, and then we press that again. F10 toggles off those regulars, and we see the cut paths. So at first glance, you've got we need all regular paths. These cut paths really, you shouldn't save things as cut paths. If you decide to cut it out of a different thickness metal with a different kerf, there's no way to come back from that. And these there's almost 6,000 paths, 12,000 nodes. I mean, these are just a hot mess. I don't know how these got this bad, but they're awful. And so let me turn those off. If I join those up with a J for link, then you know, I can recover those, but they still, I mean, I have this font and it shouldn't be this this rough. So I really don't know how this got to this point, but I'm going to delete those, and I'm going to group that, and then I'm going to put in some new text. So I'm going to open up my text tool, and I think that's like AR Herman, something like that. So once it sorts through my 1,000 fonts and tries to process the last thing I left in the font window. Okay, so we needed to say FRESHHERPS, and let's go back to that. Yeah, there it is, Herman. Okay, so there it is. Make sure everything's normal here, and it is. So let's just write that. We'll rotate it orthogonally. And it needs to be a little bigger. Put the R on the R and scale up to kind of match it. That's pretty close, and that's exactly why I grouped all of those cut paths back there. This one's a little close together, so I think what I'm going to do is move that away, and then I'm going to push that one. It'll select all those cut paths. I can delete them. See, you've got two E's and a B, so those need to be bridged in. So I did a curve, and I did node point to node point, and I'm going to drop that there, and then I'm going to offset that 0.15, which is a decent spacing. Oops, wrong side of it. And I'm going to X extend that, and then X trim, and it's going to ungroup. And I can click J for join. I'm going to do the same thing to this one. Z from the end node point, missed it, to the end node point. And I'm going to try harder to click on what I want. Oh, I see the problem. I bumped my end button. Turned on my node point snap, so when I pushed in, I was turning the node point snap off. Okay, offset 0.15, enter, hold control, jumps it over, X, all that out, and J for link it or join it. This B, I'm going to go from this node point, I'm going to just kind of estimate there, offset my 0.15, control to copy, and trim that out of there. That's probably, I probably left a D for detect. I left a little tail on it. Okay, so now I've got text that is workable. That text is 29 paths and only 3,000 nodes. So much better. Looking at the little circles here, those hangers, those are cut paths, but they have no lead in. So it's like they've been imported as cut paths and then saved and lost the other ones. So what I'm going to do for those is select them. Control X will explode them. They'll now be wide open paths. And then J to join or link them, and then now they will be closed paths. Okay. And why is that not filled in? I know that is. Okay. So this is a cut path with an open, or with a regular drawn path, so I'm just going to delete that cut path. So now what we have left is, so I wound up with two. That's why they're open. There was either two there, or I missed it. I thought there weren't any. So let me just clean that out of there rather than undo it. Now the problem you have is when you try to join this outside piece, if you look, there's these middle lines or bend lines are joined in, and so we need to, those need to not be there. So your bend lines all come from these node points of this perimeter. So there's nothing that we can't find. We don't have a bend out here in the middle of this somewhere that we can't find. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to delete your bend lines out. These are all, the white ones aren't attached. These green ones are all attached. And so I'm going to use the X tool to trim those out. Now that they're gone and out of the way, we can hit J for join, and it's going to put our path together. And then to put the bend lines back in, we just need to draw them. So we can do a line from an end node point to an end node point. And if I click the right node point, it will work much better. And then I need to come down here to, and I'll use a P for perpendicular snap, and then it'll drop it right off. I can use the space bar to pull up my line tool again, and I can snap from the E end point, P perpendicular, and that's done. Okay, right click to close it. I'm going to try something here. You always try to do what's fast, so I'm going to do line I intersection, and that's going to work because it does intersect that path there to this I intersection over here. And then right click, space bar, I, click near this one, and I click near this one. So right click. So now that puts all of our bend lines back in. Then we need to check our bend line settings. If our slot length, you had a really low slot length before, in that file I sent you was not, I think it was 1 1/4 inches, but I mean if we say it's a 0.75 and then 15 thou or 150 thou on the bend material, 0 on the add, and no notch. So if I do, let me check my curve, 35 thousandths is fine. In for a new cut path, yes, do my bend lines, and yes, do the holes. Okay, so somewhere we wound up with a bad path because I didn't check for intersections first. So let's D for detect intersections. Okay, so this is a problem in the original perimeter path. There is an intersection, some node problem here. The easiest way to fix one that you can't see it, I don't see anything wrong with it, nothing selects. So I'm going to select that perimeter, H for smooth, and that's going to clear and find any arcs and clean that up. 0.002 is what you use. It will make no changes to it, but it will clean that up. If I select it now and D for detect, see that all of my intersections are just where the bend line touches, and I expect that. So now let's go back in for new. Yes, the bend lines, yes, the holes, and now turn that off so you can see it. So now we can see what everything's going to do. Everything looks good. This S, if I do a Q.15, that is going to be some fine detail. So if you're cutting with fine cuts, you're probably okay. But that's only 60 thousandths wide. So if your kerf is not set right, that little S is going to burn up and fall off. But 60 thousandths is enough to hold if you have everything set right. Everything else looks good. I don't see anything else that is, a small piece. Your holes came through, the bend lines look good. So I think maybe that gets you where you need to be.